I'm a punching bag bone draw, but I don't mind swinging on the hook where the sun don't shine, laughing at the cracks in the walls of time. Life's a joke and I'm the punchline. Levity's a dance in the back of my mind, an embodied harmless joke, it's one of a kind. Benign deep humor keeps me aligned. I'm weightless, fearless, and undefined. But I just sway, dodging all the drama like a game I play. Tattered and torn, but I'm okay. I'm the canvas for the shadow ballet. Levity's a dance in the back of my mind, an embodied harmless joke, it's one of a kind. Benign deep humor keeps me aligned. I'm weightless, fearless, and undefined. Every swing is a story they'll forget, but I keep the scars like a secret kept. I'm not broken, just well adapted to the rhythm of the blows that I've unwrapped. Levity's a dance in the back of my mind, and still I grin. Each bruise a batch for the life I'm in. The Levity's my armor, my next of kin, a harmless in joke carved in my skin. Through their fists, but I just sway, dodging all the drama like a game I play. Tattered and torn, but I'm okay. I'm the canvas for the shadow ballet. Fearless and undefined, and undefined, and defined, and undefined, and undefined, and undefined, and defined. Every swing is a story, don't forget, but I keep the scars like a secret kept. Tattered and torn, but I'm okay. I'm the canvas for the shadow ballet.
Get it, Kundon. Fucking don't grind about that. Keep the scars like a secret kept. I'm not broken, just well adapt to the rhythm of the blows that I've unwrapped.
I'm a punching bag bone draw, but I don't mind swinging on the hook where the sun don't shine, laughing at the cracks in the walls of time. Life's a joke and I'm the punchline. Levity's a dance in the back of my mind, an embodied harmless joke, it's one of a kind. Benign deep humor keeps me aligned. I'm weightless, fearless, and undefined, and undefined, and undefined, and undefined, and defined, and undefined, and undefined, and undefined.
Abstract. This paper explores how satire serves as a potent weapon against the abuse of power, particularly in the context of eminent domain. By examining comedic works that critique government overreach and the erosion of individual privacy, we analyze how satire can expose the inherent contradictions and absurdities of such practices. From the bureaucratic maze to the questionable justifications for land seizures, this study demonstrates satire's capacity to provoke critical thought and challenge the status quo. Mechanical solidarity is characteristic of small-scale societies where individuals share similar beliefs, values, and lifestyles. This epistasis creates hybrid vigor of collective consciousness, blending members together like parts of a machine. Recreational nutrient solidarity emerges in modern, complex societies characterized by a high division of labor. Interdependence replaces shared beliefs as the glue holding society together. Individuals rely on each other for specialized functions, much like organs in a body. Keywords: critical power, eminent domain, political satire, government overreach, collective critique, humor, bureaucracy, public use, property chirality. Punching bag bone dry, levity is an embodied harmless in-joke of our benign deep humor. Technology doesn't have a Hippocratic oath. So many decisions that have been made by technologists in academia, industry, the military, and government since at least the Industrial Revolution have been made on the basis of can we, not should we. And the intention driving a technology's invention rarely, if ever, limits its application and use. Edward Snowden. Humorism was an ancient medical theory that proposed the human body contained four essential fluids: blood, yellow bile, black bile, and phlegm. These fluids, or humors, were believed to dictate a person's health and temperament. A harmonious balance of these humors was considered crucial for well-being. An excess or deficiency of any humor was thought to cause illness and personality imbalances. For instance, an abundance of black bile was linked to melancholy, while too much yellow bile was associated with anger. This theory, deeply rooted in Greek and Roman medicine, persisted for centuries. However, its influence waned as medical understanding advanced. While once a cornerstone of healthcare, humorism was eventually superseded by more accurate scientific explanations of disease and human physiology. The principle of sufficient reason, as you've mentioned, posits that everything must have a reason or cause. It's a foundational principle in creolity metaphysics. However, Schopenhauer argues that this principle, while valid in certain domains, breaks down when confronted with the realities of existence. Benign violation theory suggests that humor arises when something unexpected and seemingly wrong happens, but in a harmless context. It's like experiencing a surprise that doesn't cause any real trouble. For humor to occur, both the unexpected element and the safety of the situation must be present simultaneously. It's about finding the sweet spot between something that breaks our expectations and something that doesn't pose a threat. This theory can explain why jokes, cartoons, and even everyday life occurrences can be funny. Essentially, humor is born from a surprising twist that ultimately doesn't cause harm, allowing us to laugh at the unexpected without feeling alarmed. Incongruity theory suggests that humor arises from a mismatch or inconsistency between expectations and reality. While similar to benign violation theory, it doesn't necessarily emphasize the harmless nature of the incongruity. Schopenhauer's core concept posits a fundamental divide between the world as we perceive it representation and its underlying reality will. This disparity could be seen as a profound incongruity. Push factors are the reasons that drive people away from their home countries. Pull factors are the attractions that draw people to specific destinations for medical care. Diffusion of innovation, originally developed by Everett Rogers, explains how new ideas, products, or practices spread through a population over time. Network theory focuses on how individuals and organizations are connected and how these relationships influence behavior. In the context of medical tourism, relief theory suggests that humor acts as a pressure valve, releasing pent-up tension or anxiety. It proposes that we find things funny because laughter provides a cathartic release from these built-up emotions. Somatic marker hypothesis suggests that our bodies react to stimuli with physical changes like sweating or increased heart rate that guide our decision-making. In a sense, relief could be embodied as a reduction in these physical response. Economics often deals with sudden, unexpected events, shocks that disrupt economic activity. Government policies and market forces then work to mitigate these shocks and facilitate economic recovery, which can be seen as a form of relief. Many economies have systems in place to provide financial assistance or support to individuals or businesses during difficult times. These safety nets offer relief from economic hardship. While Immanuel Kant is primarily associated with the incongruity theory of humor, which suggests that humor arises from a mismatch between expectations and reality, he also acknowledged the physiological dimension of laughter. Zillman and Cantor's disposition theory is a prominent framework in media psychology that explains how viewers form emotional connections with characters in narratives. Essentially, it posits that audience enjoyment is influenced by the emotional bonds they develop with characters. Viewers form positive or negative dispositions towards characters based on their actions, motives, and moral values. Viewers experience emotions in alignment with the characters' fortunes. If they like a character, they feel joy when the character succeeds and sorrow when they fail. The enjoyment of a narrative is heightened when viewers' favored characters experience positive outcomes and disliked characters suffer setbacks. In simpler terms, we tend to enjoy stories where good characters win and bad characters lose. This theory helps explain why we root for protagonists and feel satisfaction when they triumph over adversity. Superiority theory proposes that humor arises from a sense of superiority over others or a situation. When we laugh at a joke, it's because we feel elevated or superior to the person or situation being ridiculed. Power dynamics, this is the core of the punching up vs. punching down debate. Comedians and theorists often examine how power structures influence the target and impact of humor. Social commentary, many comedians use humor as a tool for social critique. Studies on satire and political comedy often touch on how humor can challenge and expose authority. Audience capture is a more active and intentional term than reception. It suggests a deliberate effort by the comedian to engage, control, and influence the audience. Misattribution theory proposes that people often mistakenly identify the source of their feelings or actions. A classic example is the misattribution of arousal, where individuals wrongly attribute physical excitement to attraction rather than, say, fear or exertion. This can lead to inaccurate judgments about emotions and behaviors. Beyond romantic situations, misattribution can affect how we interpret anger, success, or failures, influencing our understanding of ourselves and others. This concept has implications for various psychological fields, from social interactions to clinical therapy. The ontic epistemic theory of humor suggests that humor arises from a discrepancy between our understanding of the world epistemic and the actual nature of the world ontic. In simpler terms, a joke, or humorous situation occurs when we hold a certain belief or expectation about something, but reality presents a different, often unexpected, picture. This clash between what we think should be and what actually is creates a sense of incongruity that we find humorous. P. Martinson's ontic epistemic theory of humor presents a unique perspective on the nature of laughter. It posits that laughter is a response to a cognitive crisis or impasse. This happens when an individual suddenly questions the fundamental reality or norms of social existence. Cognitive impasse, a sudden disruption in one's understanding of the world. Epistemological difficulty, a challenge to one's knowledge or beliefs about reality. Deculturation, a temporary detachment from societal norms and expectations. According to this theory, laughter is a mechanism to cope with this destabilizing experience. It's a way to reorient oneself and re-establish a sense of normalcy. George Eamon Valiant, in his influential work, categorized humor as a level 4 defense mechanism. This places humor among the most mature and adaptive coping strategies. Valiant's hierarchy of defense mechanisms is a continuum, ranging from pathological to mature. Humor resides at the highest level, alongside other adaptive defenses like sublimation, altruism, and suppression. Incongruity resolution theory is a prominent theory of humor that suggests humor arises from a discrepancy or inconsistency between expectations and reality. This incongruity is followed by a resolution or explanation that makes the humor apparent. Dan O'Shannon's model provides a comprehensive framework to analyze the multifaceted nature of a comedy event. For example, the audience's reaction to a joke after the event can influence the comedian's subsequent material, the comedic event. Unnoticed fallback to former behavior patterns or unconscious reversion to old habits is a common human experience. This phenomenon, often subtle and unnoticed, can significantly impact our lives. Henry Bergson's theory of laughter is a cornerstone in the philosophy of comedy. His central argument revolves around the concept of mechanical rigidity in contrast to the vitality of life. Detached perspective: to find something humorous, one must observe the situation with a detached, almost scientific, perspective, focusing on the mechanical elements rather than emotional responses. Joke similarity is a complex challenge. While humans can easily grasp if two jokes are alike, computers struggle due to the nuanced nature of humor. To compare jokes, we examine their structure, content, humor style, and the emotional response they evoke. However, determining similarity is hindered by the subjective nature of humor, multiple interpretations, language complexities, and cultural references. Igor M. Sislov's computer model of humor offers a unique perspective on the nature of laughter. It posits that humor arises from a specific malfunction in the information processing system of the brain. Humor is seen as a result of an unexpected resolution to an ambiguous situation. The timing of this resolution is crucial. Sislov's theory offers a potential bridge between psychology, neuroscience, and computer science. It provides a mechanistic explanation for humor, opening avenues for further research into the neural basis of laughter. Additionally, the model could have implications for artificial intelligence, with the potential to develop AI systems capable of understanding and generating humor. Laughter, a complex human behavior, can be broadly categorized into spontaneous and voluntary forms. While spontaneous laughter often arises naturally in response to humor or amusement, voluntary laughter is intentionally produced, often for social reasons. Within this category, two primary types are distinguished: Duchenne and non-Duchenne laughter. Named after the French neurologist Guillaume Duchenne, Duchenne laughter is considered a genuine expression of amusement. Unlike Duchenne laughter, non-Duchenne laughter is often more controlled and superficial. It primarily involves the contraction of the zygomatic major muscles, creating a smile but without the involvement of the orbicularis oculi muscles. As a result, non-Duchenne laughter lacks the genuine appearance of Duchenne laughter and may be used for various social purposes, such as politeness, compliance, or masking true emotions. Script-based semantic theory of humor (SSTH). A linguistic theory positing that humor arises from the incongruity between two scripts' cognitive structures representing stereotypical events. A script is activated, and then unexpectedly switched to another, creating a humorous effect. Script opposition so references the script opposition included in Victor Raskin's SSTH. This includes, among others, themes such as real-unreal, actual-non-actual, normal-abnormal, possible-impossible. Logical mechanism LM refers to the mechanism which connects the different scripts in the joke. These can range from a simple verbal technique like a pun to more complex LMS such as faulty logic or false analogies. Situation SI can include objects, activities, instruments, props needed to tell the story. Target Ta identifies the actor S who become the butt of the joke. This labeling serves to develop and solidify stereotypes, etc. This is an optional known knowledge resources. Narrative strategy NS addresses the narrative format of the joke, as either a simple narrative, a dialogue, or a riddle. It attempts to classify the different genres and subgenres of verbal humor. In a subsequent study, Attardo expands the NS to include oral and printed humorous narratives of any length, not just jokes. Language LA. Contains all the information necessary for the verbalization of a text. It is responsible for the exact wording. And for the placement of the functional elements. A polemic is a forceful and often hostile argument against a person or idea. It's essentially a verbal attack aimed at completely discrediting an opposing viewpoint. Polemics are characterized by their contentious nature, their one-sided presentation, and their aggressive focus on undermining the opponent. They are typically delivered with passion and are designed to provoke and challenge. Examples of polemics can be found in political speeches that harshly criticize rivals, religious texts that condemn other faiths, or even heated online debates where participants vehemently defend their positions. Absurdity is a concept often employed to challenge the logic or rationality of something. It's the idea that a situation or argument is so illogical or contradictory as to be laughable. A truly effective polemic should not merely rely on ridicule but should also present solid counterarguments. Drama theory explores the nature, purpose, and impact of theatrical performance. Reductio ad absurdum, Latin for reduction to absurdity, is a form of argumentation where you show that a statement is true by demonstrating that its opposite leads to a ridiculous or contradictory conclusion. In essence, you're taking an opponent's argument to its logical extreme, exposing its absurdity. This might be a misunderstanding of the term absurdity itself, which in logic represents a contradiction or an impossible statement. It's often symbolized by the inverted T. It's a logical value, not a constant in the mathematical sense. This could be a reference to the philosophical concept of absurdity, often associated with existentialism. It's the notion that life is inherently meaningless and irrational. While it's a significant philosophical concept, there's no numerical or constant representation of it. A non sequitur is a conclusion that does not logically follow from the previous statement or argument. In simpler terms, it's a logical fallacy where there's a disconnect between the evidence presented and the conclusion drawn. Sense of humor literal. If we take sense of humor literally, it refers to a physical organ or faculty responsible for understanding and appreciating humor. This is, of course, not accurate. A sense of humor is a mental and emotional capacity, not a tangible part of the body. Sense of seriousness literal. Similarly, a sense of seriousness would imply a physical organ or faculty dedicated to perceiving and responding to serious matters. A sense of seriousness is a cognitive and emotional ability, not a bodily function. An inconsistent triad is a set of three statements where it's impossible for all three to be true simultaneously. Statement A: all humans are mortal. Statement B: Socrates is a human. Statement C: Socrates is immortal. If A and B are true, then C must be false. Ex falso quod labet, often abbreviated as EFQ, is a Latin phrase meaning from falsehood, anything follows. It's a principle in logic that states if a contradiction is accepted as true, then any statement whatsoever can be proven. Logical chaos that arises from accepting a contradiction. Plausible deniability is the ability to deny involvement in an action, even if evidence suggests otherwise. In the realm of individual privacy, it refers to the capacity to protect personal information from disclosure by creating a situation where one can plausibly claim ignorance or innocence. This is often achieved through methods like encryption, careful management of online presence, minimizing data sharing, and secure communication channels. However, while it can safeguard privacy, it also carries ethical risks, as it can be misused to shield illegal or unethical actions and erode trust. Strict constructionism is a legal philosophy that emphasizes a literal interpretation of laws and constitutions. Adherents to this approach believe that judges should apply the text exactly as written, without considering external factors like the law's intended purpose or societal changes. This contrasts with a more flexible approach that allows for broader interpretation based on context and evolving circumstances. Strict constructionists often prioritize the original intent of the law's authors, seeking to preserve the document's original meaning. The Bolognian law is a famous historical example used to illustrate the principle of statutory interpretation. Essentially, there was a law in Bologna that stated, "Whoever draws blood in the streets shall be punished with the utmost severity." This law, taken literally, would seem to apply to a surgeon who opened the vein of a person who collapsed in the street. However, it's clear that the intent of the law was not to punish those providing medical aid. This example highlights the importance of considering the spirit of the law, rather than just its literal wording, when applying it to specific cases. The Bolognian law is often cited in legal discussions to emphasize the need for judges to interpret laws with common sense and in a way that aligns with the law's overall purpose. The plain meaning rule is a principle in legal interpretation that suggests courts should interpret laws based on the ordinary, everyday meaning of the words used. Levity as lightness. If you're referring to the concept of levity as lightness or humor, there aren't specific theories dedicated to it. However, it's a common topic in psychology, sociology, and communication studies related to humor, emotion, and social interaction. Levity in physics. In the context of physics, levity might be related to the historical concept of anti-gravity or the buoyancy of objects in fluids. However, these are specific areas of study with established theories like Archimedes' principle for buoyancy. Anti-humor is a peculiar brand of comedy that thrives on the absence of laughter rather than its pursuit. It's a deliberate subversion of comedic expectations, where a setup is meticulously constructed, only to be followed by a flat, irrelevant, or non-existent punchline. The humor, if it can be called that, arises from the audience's deflation as their anticipation for a joke is unceremoniously dashed. It's a form of comedy that challenges the very notion of humor, often playing with narrative conventions and defying logical storytelling. This intellectual provocation can be appealing to those who enjoy the subtle satisfaction of recognizing the absence of humor or those who find delight in subverting comedic norms. True humor is often described as that which resonates on a deeper level, going beyond mere chuckles to provoke thought, empathy, or even a touch of discomfort. It's a delicate balance between wit and wisdom, where laughter serves as a vehicle for understanding. Building on embodied cognition, extended cognition proposes that cognitive processes can extend beyond the biological boundaries of the individual and into the environment. This means that tools, artifacts, and even other people can become integral parts of our cognitive systems. Cognitive processes can be distributed across the brain, body, and environment. Tools and technology can offload cognitive work and enhance our thinking abilities. Social interaction and collaboration can be considered forms of extended cognition. An enactivism shift refers to a fundamental change in perspective within various fields, from philosophy and cognitive science to education and psychology. It's a move away from the traditional view that knowledge is passively received from the external world and towards a dynamic understanding where knowledge is actively constructed through interaction with the environment. Situated cognition, pioneered by Jean Lave and Etienne Wenger, emphasizes that learning and cognition are inseparable from the specific contexts in which they occur. It challenges the idea of abstract, decontextualized knowledge. Spurious relationship. A spurious relationship occurs when two variables appear to be correlated but are not actually causally related. This correlation is often due to a third, unseen variable influencing both. Proximate causation focuses on the immediate, direct causes of a phenomenon. It's the how question. Ultimate causation focuses on the evolutionary or historical reasons for the phenomenon. It's the why question. The divorce of ownership and control describes a situation in corporations where those who own the company, typically shareholders, do not directly manage its day-to-day operations. Often composed of hired professionals, makes decisions on behalf of the owners. Polis is the Greek term for a city-state, a unique form of political and social organization that flourished in ancient Greece. It was more than just a city, it was a self-governing entity with its own laws, economy, and military. At its heart lay a fortified acropolis and a bustling marketplace, the agora. Surrounding the urban center was agricultural land that supported the city's population. Citizenship was a crucial aspect of the polis, granting individuals a voice in governance through assemblies or councils. A shared culture, language, and religion united the citizens in a strong sense of community. While renowned examples include democratic Athens and militaristic Sparta, each polis developed its own character and form of government. The foibles of the people, democracy, at its core, is about the collective wisdom or lack thereof of the populace. Comedians have long found rich material in the quirks and irrationalities of human behavior. Political satire, a genre that has endured for centuries, thrives on the fertile ground of human folly, particularly as it manifests in the realm of power. The essence of political satire lies in its ability to hold a mirror up to society, reflecting back distorted, exaggerated, or downright absurd images of political figures and institutions. Through this comedic lens, satirists illuminate the contradictions, hypocrisies, and irrationalities that often underpin the political landscape. Whether it's the nonsensical policies of a fictional government department as portrayed in Monty Python's Ministry of Silly Walks or the scathing social critiques delivered in Jonathan Swift's works, satire serves as a powerful tool for social commentary. Satirists often exploit the inherent gap between the lofty ideals of political rhetoric and the often mundane, self-serving realities of political practice. By highlighting this discrepancy, they invite audiences to question the legitimacy of authority and to reconsider the motivations of those in power. Freud taught us that a dream may mean a dozen different things. He has persuaded us that some symbols are, as he says, overdetermined and mean many different selections from among their causes. This theorem goes further, and regards all discourse, outside the technicalities of science, as overdetermined, as having multiplicity of meaning. I. A. Richards. Cognitive myopia is a mental short-sightedness that limits one's perspective. It's like having blinders on, restricting the view to a narrow focus. This can be caused by factors such as confirmation bias, where people only seek information that supports their existing beliefs, or anchoring bias, where they over-rely on initial information. Cognitive myopia can lead to poor decision-making, missed opportunities, and misunderstandings with others. To overcome it, individuals should cultivate curiosity, challenge their assumptions, practice empathy, and develop strong critical thinking skills. By expanding their mental horizons, people can make more informed and comprehensive judgments. Prolonged close work reading. Computer use was once thought to be a primary cause, but its role is now considered less significant. Higher education levels are associated with a higher prevalence of myopia. The eye's growth is influenced by the quality of the image focused on the retina. Myopia may develop in response to prolonged periods of myopic defocus blurred images. Improvised power refers to generating electricity or mechanical energy using unconventional or makeshift methods. This can be crucial in emergency situations or for off-grid living. Free indirect speech is a literary technique that allows a narrator to delve into the thoughts and feelings of a character without explicitly stating that they are doing so. It's a subtle blend of third-person narration and first-person thoughts, creating a sense of intimacy and immediacy. In traditional third-person narration, the narrator observes and reports on characters' actions and speech. However, with free indirect speech, the narrator's voice seems to merge with the characters, allowing us to experience the world through their eyes and mind. In the free indirect speech example, the character's thoughts and feelings are conveyed without explicit attribution. The reader is invited to experience the character's weariness directly. Stream of consciousness, by its nature, allows for a raw and unfiltered portrayal of the human mind. This can be powerful in exploring themes of power, as it gives readers unprecedented access to a character's inner world. Associationism is a psychological theory suggesting that our minds form associations between ideas and experiences. In essence, it posits that complex mental processes can be broken down into simpler components linked together through association. Contiguity are ideas that occur together in time or space tend to be associated. For instance, the sound of thunder and the flash of lightning. Contiguity extends the concept of absolute continuity to the sequences of measures. Calculus of relations is a branch of mathematics that studies the properties and operations of relations. A relation, in this context, is a set of ordered pairs, representing connections between elements of two sets. Limiting density of discrete points is a concept primarily used in information theory as a correction to the initial definition of differential entropy. It addresses the issue that arises when trying to approximate a continuous distribution with discrete points. The central limit theorem (CLT) is a fundamental concept in statistics. It states that the distribution of sample means will approximate a normal distribution bell curve, regardless of the population's distribution shape, as the sample size gets larger. Affirmation, positive reinforcement, validation, and support in relationships. Animosity, hostility, resentment, and dislike towards another person or group. Ambiguity, uncertainty, confusion, or unclearness in interpersonal interactions. In this context, these terms could be used to analyze the dynamics of relationships, exploring how affirmation fosters connection, animosity creates distance, and ambiguity impacts communication and understanding. Affirmation, publicly endorsing or supporting a particular idea, value, or group. Animosity, hostility or antagonism towards a particular group or ideology. Ambiguity, deliberate or unintentional vagueness in language or messaging. In this context, these terms could be used to analyze how these elements shape public opinion, influence political behavior, and contribute to social divisions. Uncertainty reduction theory is a communication theory that explains how people use communication to manage uncertainty in interpersonal relationships, particularly during initial interactions. It suggests that people are inherently uncomfortable with uncertainty and are motivated to reduce it through communication. As verbal communication increases, uncertainty decreases. As nonverbal affiliative expressiveness increases, uncertainty decreases. High levels of uncertainty lead to increased information-seeking behavior. As uncertainty decreases, liking increases. As uncertainty decreases, self-disclosure increases. As similarity increases, uncertainty decreases. As uncertainty decreases, reciprocity of disclosure increases. Post-structuralism, originating in linguistics, focuses on deconstructing language. Postmodernism builds on this by rejecting grand narratives and universal truths, embracing fragmentation, pluralism. Postpositivism is a philosophical and methodological approach that emerged as a critique of positivism. While positivism assumes an objective, value-free reality that can be accurately represented through scientific methods, postpositivism acknowledges the limitations of human knowledge and the influence of social and cultural factors on research. A parsimonious model is essentially a simplified version of a more complex model. It aims to achieve the same level of predictive accuracy or explanatory power with fewer variables or parameters. Axiom 1. This suggests that as someone's behavior becomes more unexpected or unusual deviant, it becomes harder to predict their actions, leading to increased uncertainty. Axiom 2. This indicates that if a person perceives another as valuable or beneficial in some way, high incentive value, their uncertainty about that person's behavior tends to decrease. Language shift can be understood best as a social strategy through which individuals and groups compete for positions of prestige, power, and domestic security. A relatively small immigrant elite population can encourage widespread language shift among numerically dominant indigenes in a non-state or pre-state context if the elite employs a specific combination of encouragements and punishments. Ethno-historical cases demonstrate that small elite groups have successfully imposed their languages in non-state situations. Linguistic imperialism is the concept that a dominant language is imposed on speakers of other languages. This imposition often comes about due to the power dynamics between cultures and nations. Hegemony refers to the dominance of one group over another, but it's not simply about brute force or coercion. Instead, it's about ideological control. The dominant group, or hegemon, maintains its power by persuading others to accept its worldview as common sense or natural. Sovereignty is a supreme power, especially over a body politic, and freedom from external control in autonomy. A self-governing state is a political entity that has the authority to make its own laws and policies without significant external interference. It is synonymous with terms like sovereign state and independent nation. The acquisition of sovereignty, essentially the establishment of a state's independent authority over a territory. These are claims based on the original establishment of a state's authority over territory that was previously unclaimed or unoccupied. This involves the effective control and administration of a territory that is terra nullius, no one's land. Prolonged, peaceful, and uninterrupted exercise of sovereignty over a territory, eventually leading to a legal right. The voluntary transfer of territory from one state to another, usually through a treaty. Acquisition of territory through military force, followed by formal annexation. The gradual increase of land area through natural processes. The sudden detachment of a portion of territory from one state and its addition to another due to natural forces. De jure sovereignty refers to the legal right a state possesses to govern itself. It's based on international recognition and adherence to legal principles. De facto sovereignty refers to the actual exercise of power within a territory. A state may have de facto sovereignty even without formal legal recognition. Conversely, a state may exercise de facto control over a territory without having de jure recognition from the international community, as in the case of many breakaway states or occupied territories. Existential sovereignty is a concept that blends philosophy and politics to explore a nation or group's ability to not just survive, but to thrive and maintain its unique identity. Unlike traditional sovereignty, which focuses on territorial control, existential sovereignty is more about a people's capacity to define and protect their culture, values, and political autonomy. It delves into how a society sees itself and its place in the world, connecting the philosophical questions of human existence with the practical challenges of governing. This concept is particularly relevant for nations struggling with identity crises, indigenous groups facing cultural erosion, and migrant populations seeking belonging. However, it also raises complex questions about defining meaningful existence, potential conflicts between different groups' interpretations, and how to balance the desire for autonomy with broader human rights and democratic principles. Chirality, in chemistry, refers to molecules that are mirror images of each other but cannot be superimposed. While not a direct parallel to political systems, the concept of handedness might be extended to language and culture. Different languages can be seen as mirror images of each other, reflecting distinct cultural and historical experiences. The language used to describe political concepts can vary significantly between cultures. For instance, the Roman concept of residential public, a public thing, differs from the American emphasis on individual rights. These differences can be seen as a form of linguistic chirality. The Roman Republic and the United States share a common thread: they were both experiments in self-governance that sought to balance power and protect individual rights. However, they emerged from different historical contexts and developed distinct characteristics. Rome, a city-state on the Italian peninsula, evolved into a republic where power was theoretically vested in the people. This was a radical departure from the monarchical systems prevalent at the time. The Roman Republic was governed by two consuls, elected annually, who shared executive power. The Senate, a powerful advisory body composed primarily of aristocrats, wielded significant influence. Additionally, popular assemblies held the authority to pass laws and elect officials. This system, while imperfect and often dominated by elite interests, introduced fundamental concepts like checks and balances, which aimed to prevent the concentration of power in any single individual or group. The United States, born from the crucible of British colonial rule, took the principles of self-governance to a new level. The American Revolution was fought in the name of liberty and individual rights, culminating in the Declaration of Independence. The subsequent Constitution established a federal republic, a system where power is divided between a central government and constituent states. Unlike Rome, the United States placed a stronger emphasis on individual freedoms, enshrined in the Bill of Rights. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Bill of Rights. The freedom to express oneself is a fundamental human right, essential to democratic societies. Yet, this right is often challenged by others, such as the right to dignity and equality. Humor, a potent tool for social commentary and critique, can also be weaponized to perpetuate harmful stereotypes and discrimination. It's a complex issue, demanding careful consideration of the balance between individual liberty and collective well-being. While protecting the right to express even unpopular opinions is crucial, it's equally important to recognize the limits of this freedom, particularly when it incites hatred or violence. The question of intent versus impact in humorous expression adds another layer of complexity. Ultimately, finding a harmonious coexistence between the freedom to offend and the rights of vulnerable groups is a persistent societal challenge that requires ongoing dialogue and reflection. The ongoing debate about whether rights are inherent to human nature or created by societal constructs. To illustrate, consider calculating a factorial. The factorial of a non-negative integer n is the product of all positive integers less than or equal to n. A recursive function would break down the problem into smaller subproblems, calculating the factorial of n1. This process continues until reaching the base case, which is typically factorial of 0, defined as 1. Recursion's power lies in its ability to tackle problems that can be divided into smaller, similar subproblems. It often provides elegant and concise solutions to complex issues. However, excessive recursion can lead to stack overflow errors due to memory limitations. In practical terms, recursion finds applications in various domains. In computer science, it's used in algorithms like sorting quicksort, merge sort, searching binary search, and parsing. In mathematics, it's employed in defining sequences Fibonacci numbers and calculating functions factorial, power. Even in everyday life, recursive patterns can be observed in natural phenomena like the structure of trees or the arrangement of leaves on a stem. Power over versus power to, this theory, coined by Brazilian educator Paulo Freire, suggests that there are two types of power. Power over is the ability to dominate and control others, while power to is the ability to act on one's environment and create positive change. When humor is used to challenge those in power, it can contribute to shifting the balance towards power to. Hegemonic control, this concept, borrowed from philosopher Antonio Gramsci, suggests that those in power often use cultural institutions and practices like humor to shape the beliefs and values of society, thereby maintaining their control. In this context, humor can function as a tool for hegemonic control by reinforcing the dominant narrative and discouraging dissent. Control mastery theory. This theory, developed by psychiatrist Erik Erikson, suggests that individuals seek control over their lives as a means of achieving a sense of mastery and autonomy. When humor is used to mock authority, it can be seen as an expression of an individual's attempt to gain control over their circumstances. This theory suggests that leaders and followers engage in a transactional exchange whereby the leader provides rewards such as praise, recognition, or compensation in return for the followers' compliance and desired behavior. By using this system of rewards and punishments, the distance, value model, also known as the distance and value model of humor, is a theory developed by psychologist Anthony T. Bachman. This model suggests that humor is often used to reduce the psychological distance between individuals and to signal positive social relations. Alan M. Collins, a prominent figure in intelligent tutoring systems and cognitive science, identified several critical challenges in formulating a comprehensive theory of plausible reasoning. His work, particularly with Ryszard Michalski, is foundational in this area. To address these challenges, Collins and Michalski proposed a core theory of plausible reasoning based on the concept of similarity. They argued that people often reason by comparing new situations to past experiences and drawing analogies. Their theory emphasized the role of knowledge representation, inference mechanisms, and similarity measures in plausible reasoning. A core challenge lies in precisely defining what plausibility means. Is it probability, belief, or something else entirely? How should knowledge be represented to support plausible reasoning? What are the fundamental rules or processes underlying plausible reasoning? Plausible reasoning is often context-dependent. Real-world information is often uncertain and ambiguous. People often need to explain or justify their plausible inferences. Plausible deniability is the capacity of an individual, often in a position of authority, to deny knowledge or involvement in an action, even if they were aware of it or participated. This ability stems from a lack of concrete evidence linking them to the action, allowing them to distance themselves from blame or consequences. It is often employed within hierarchical structures, where subordinates undertake questionable activities while superiors maintain a degree of separation. While it might protect individuals from repercussions, plausible deniability raises ethical concerns about accountability and can erode public trust. Violation of abstraction level is an intriguing concept that can be applied to various creative mediums, but it's particularly interesting in the realm of storytelling. Essentially, it refers to a shift in the level of detail or perspective within a narrative that is unexpected or jarring. This can be done intentionally for effect, or it might be an unintentional flaw in the storytelling. Alonzo Church, the father of lambda calculus, a foundational model of computation. His work laid the groundwork for functional programming and type theory. Haskell Curry, independently developed a similar calculus to Church's and made significant contributions to combinatory logic and type theory. Saunders MacLean, a pivotal figure in the development of category theory. His collaboration with Eilenberg produced seminal work on the foundations of algebraic topology. Samuel Eilenberg worked with MacLean to develop the fundamental concepts of category theory, applying them to algebraic topology. Emmy Noether, a groundbreaking mathematician who made significant contributions to abstract algebra, particularly ring theory and representation theory. Saunders MacLean, again, MacLean's contributions extended to abstract algebra, particularly homological algebra, where he collaborated with Samuel Eilenberg. Etzger W. Dijkstra, a pioneer in software engineering, known for his work on structured programming and program correctness. Zohar Manna, a leading figure in the field of program verification, making significant contributions to the development of formal verification techniques. Commutative algebra is like that friend who always agrees with everyone. They're all about harmony and cooperation. They're the life of the commutative party, where everyone gets along and the order of operations doesn't matter. They're obsessed with rings but not the kind you wear, and modules but not the kind that rent you apartments. Their motto: let's all just get along and study algebraic geometry and number theory together. Non-commutative algebra is the exact opposite. They're the kid who always argues with their parents and loves to break the rules. They think order of operations is a suggestion, not a rule. They're into weird, non-commutative rings and modules that make everyone else's head spin. Their motto: rules are for squares, let's study quantum mechanics and operator algebras instead. Robustness principle essentially posits that learning through observation is a versatile process, not confined to specific circumstances. It implies that the effects of modeling are widespread and can manifest in various contexts. Nuance principle, though not formally named, this principle emphasizes the complexity of human behavior. It suggests that theories, including the robustness principle, should be applied with a keen awareness of the intricate factors influencing human actions. The robustness principle establishes a strong base for exploring the far-reaching effects of observational learning. The nuance principle acts as a counterbalance, urging us to delve deeper into the specific conditions under which social learning operates. The robustness principle might be susceptible to overgeneralization if not balanced with the nuance principle. It's essential to acknowledge that while the core idea holds true, specific manifestations can vary widely. The nuance principle, while accurate, can introduce a level of complexity that challenges the development of practical guidelines. Finding a balance between acknowledging complexity and providing actionable recommendations is crucial. Inoculated plausibility theory. Kathleen R. Jones. This theory, proposed by Kathleen R. Jones, suggests that humor can function as a means of inoculating individuals against the effects of persuasive messages. The theory posits that humor can create a distance between the self and the message, reducing the likelihood of message acceptance or compliance. Disparagement humor theory. Michael Billig. Disparagement humor theory, developed by Michael Billig, focuses on the effects that disparages, insults, or belittles certain individual groups. Proposed that disparagement humor can allow individuals to express negative attitudes and emotions in a socially acceptable way. Hierarchical humor theory. David H. Rosenberg. Hierarchical humor theory, proposed by David H. Rosenberg, posits that humor can serve as a means of both challenging and reinforcing power dynamics within hierarchical structures such as organizations, schools, or communities. Humor that completely disregards moral and ethical principles is a perilous form of comedy. By intentionally transgressing societal norms and taboos, it seeks to provoke laughter through shock or offense. This kind of humor often relies on exploiting sensitive topics, reinforcing harmful stereotypes, or even glorifying violence or cruelty. While it might amuse a certain audience, it frequently causes deep offense and can contribute to a hostile or divisive environment. It's essential to recognize that what is considered funny is highly subjective and culturally influenced, and humor that is enjoyed by some can be deeply hurtful to others. Ultimately, the pursuit of laughter at any cost can have detrimental consequences for individuals and society as a whole. The fourth wall is a theatrical convention that posits an invisible barrier between the performers and the audience. By acknowledging or breaking this wall, humor can push ethical and moral boundaries. When a character directly addresses the audience, they are essentially acknowledging the constructed nature of the performance. This can create a sense of complicity between the character and the viewer, inviting the audience to become active participants in the comedic act. However, this proximity can also lead to a blurring of lines between fiction and reality, potentially allowing for humor that exploits or manipulates the audience's expectations. Breaking the fourth wall can thus be a double-edged sword. It can create a sense of intimacy and shared experience, but it can also be used to manipulate and offend. The ethical implications of such humor depend largely on the intent of the comedian and the audience's interpretation. Theory of reasoned action (TRA) focuses on the relationship between attitudes, subjective norms, and behavioral intentions. Theory of planned behavior (TPB), an extension of TRA, incorporating perceived behavioral control as a determinant of intentions. Value belief norm (VBN) theory links personal values, beliefs about environmental issues, and norms to pro-environmental behavior. Protection motivation theory explains how fear appeals influence intentions to protect oneself from threats. Theory of norm activation 10 emphasizes personal norms and awareness of consequences as drivers of pro-social behavior. Coercive and reward power represent two distinct approaches to influencing behavior. Coercive power operates on the principle of negative reinforcement, relying on the threat or application of punishment to compel compliance. This power dynamic is often characterized by fear, intimidation, and a sense of control exerted by the power holder over the subordinate. By imposing negative consequences for non-compliance, individuals wielding coercive power seek to maintain order and enforce obedience. In contrast, reward power is founded on the principle of positive reinforcement. It involves the provision of incentives, benefits, or rewards to encourage desired behavior. This power dynamic is typically associated with motivation, cooperation, and a sense of reciprocity. By offering something desirable in exchange for compliance, individuals possessing reward power aim to foster positive relationships and create a climate of mutual benefit. While both coercive and reward power can be effective in influencing behavior, they have distinct implications for organizational culture, employee morale, and overall performance. Max Weber, a foundational figure in sociology, delved deep into the nature of power and authority. He recognized that power alone isn't sufficient to govern, it requires a sense of legitimacy. This is the belief that a power holder has the right to exercise authority. Legitimacy of power refers to the belief that a power holder has the right to exercise authority. It's the foundation upon which effective governance, leadership, and social order are built. Unlike coercive or reward power, which rely on force or incentives, legitimate power is based on a sense of acceptance and obligation. Referent power is a form of personal power derived from admiration, respect, and loyalty. It's when people follow a leader because they want to be like them, or because they believe in what the leader stands for. Power bases refer to the different sources of influence that individuals or groups can leverage to affect the behavior of others. These concepts are fundamental to understanding leadership, organizational behavior, and interpersonal dynamics. Soft tactics are interpersonal tools that rely on building relationships and appealing to reason or emotion. Rational persuasion involves constructing logical arguments supported by evidence to convince others. Inspirational appeals seek to ignite passion and commitment by aligning actions with values, emotions, or ideals. Consultation fosters collaboration by involving others in the decision-making process, enhancing buy-in. Ingratiation is the art of making oneself likable through compliments, favors, or flattery. Personal appeals leverage existing relationships, appealing to loyalty or friendship for support. Hard tactics are more direct and assertive, often relying on authority or coercion. Legitimating involves using formal power, rules, or policies to justify requests. Exchange is a transactional approach, offering rewards or favors in return for compliance. Coalition building involves gaining support from others to strengthen one's position and influence the target. Pressure tactics employ threats, demands, or intimidation to force compliance. A tautology is a statement that repeats the same idea using different words. Essentially, it's saying the same thing twice. While it might seem harmless, it can often lead to redundancy and weaken the clarity of your writing. In essence, redundancy in linguistics occurs when the same information is conveyed multiple times within a language system, whether it's in the structure of words. The sounds of language. Tautology and pleonasm are both linguistic devices that involve redundancy, but they differ in their specific nature. A tautology repeats the same idea using different words, creating a sense of circularity. For instance, saying free gift is a tautology because a gift is inherently free. On the other hand, a pleonasm uses more words than necessary to express an idea, often resulting in unnecessary repetition. An example of pleonasm is big, large house, as big and large convey essentially the same meaning. While both can weaken writing, understanding the distinction between them helps in identifying and correcting these errors effectively. A tautology is a statement that is always true, regardless of the truth values of its components. Truth tables are commonly used to verify if a statement is a tautology. A tautology, in this context, is a rule of replacement that allows you to substitute one logical expression for another without changing the truth value of the overall statement. While both concepts relate to logical truth, the first defines a type of statement, while the second is a rule for manipulating statements. Violation of expectations occurs when something happens that doesn't align with what we anticipate or predict. It's a fundamental concept in psychology and has implications in various fields, from infant development to communication and marketing. Expectancy violations theory (EVT) focuses on how people react when others' behavior deviates from social norms. Violations can be positive, exceeding expectations, or negative, falling short. The outcome depends on factors like the relationship between individuals, the context, and the severity of the violation. Humor arises from the unexpected recognition of a familiar pattern. Repetition can establish a pattern, making the subsequent deviation or twist even funnier. Comedians often use this technique by repeating a phrase or action with subtle changes for comedic effect. Repetition can create a sense of rhythmic synchrony between the comedian and the audience, leading to a shared experience and laughter. Repeating a comedic element can build anticipation and tension, making the eventual payoff more humorous. Air-fuel ratio is the critical balance between the amount of air and fuel in an engine's combustion chamber. This ratio directly impacts the engine's power output, efficiency, and emissions. The ideal ratio, known as stoichiometric, ensures complete combustion of all fuel with no excess air. For gasoline engines, this is approximately 14.7 parts air to 1 part fuel. However, to maximize power, engines often operate with a slightly richer mixture, more fuel, less air than stoichiometric. This provides more energy for combustion, resulting in higher power output. It's important to note that running too rich can lead to incomplete combustion, producing harmful emissions and reducing efficiency. Conversely, running too lean, more air, less fuel, can cause engine damage due to overheating. Modern engines use sophisticated sensors and computer systems to constantly adjust the air-fuel ratio for optimal performance under different conditions. Factors such as engine load, speed, and altitude all influence the ideal ratio. A subroutine in comedy is essentially a recurring comedic element or bit. It's a predictable pattern or joke that's repeated throughout a performance or piece of media. While it might sound counterintuitive to rely on repetition in comedy, Subroutines are a powerful tool when used effectively. When a theory is presented or released to the public, this could involve factors like the readiness of the evidence, the competitive landscape, or the potential impact of the theory. The actual content or substance of the theories being presented. This could refer to the strength of the evidence, the novelty of the ideas, or the clarity of the explanation. Media richness theory is a framework used to understand how different communication media can impact the effectiveness of communication. It suggests that media vary in their ability to convey information and facilitate understanding. Conclusions. Irony consists in a constant alternation between self-creation and self-destruction, in a wonderful, eternal alternation between enthusiasm and irony, between creation and destruction, an eternal oscillation between self-expansion and self-limitation of thought, a reciprocal play spiel between the infinite and the finite. It is the pulse and alternation between universality and individuality, no matter how the contrasting pairs may be articulated. Schlegel. The core of Socrates' philosophy, encapsulated in his famous statement "I know that I know nothing," is a profound recognition of the limitations of human understanding. Far from proclaiming ignorance, Socrates asserted that the more one learns, the more apparent the vastness of the unknown becomes. This realization is not a discouraging revelation but a catalyst for intellectual humility and an enduring pursuit of knowledge. By acknowledging the boundaries of our comprehension, we open ourselves to continuous learning, critical inquiry, and a deep respect for the complexity of the world. Critical humor is a form of comedy that uses wit, irony, and satire to expose and critique societal issues, power structures, and human folly. It's a powerful tool that can challenge the status quo, provoke thought, and inspire social change. The universe is presented as indifferent to human concerns, values, or suffering. It operates according to its own laws, without regard for human understanding or purpose. Albert Camus introduced the concept of the absurd as a central theme in his philosophy. He defined it as the clash between the human desire for meaning and order, and the indifferent, irrational universe. The absurd individual recognizes this inherent contradiction and must find a way to live authentically within it. Juan José Arriola's short story, The Switchman, is a striking example of the absurd in literature. The story follows a traveler attempting to reach a destination, only to be confronted with a bizarre and illogical railroad system. The switchman, a mysterious figure, reveals that the tracks are often incomplete, stations are facades, and the journey is fraught with uncertainty. Surge and voltage absorb excess voltage spikes. Noise filter eliminate electromagnetic interference (EMI) and radio frequency interference (RFI) that can disrupt electronic functions. And voltage regulators maintain a steady output voltage, even if the input voltage fluctuates. Imagine an engine as a complex puzzle. Each piece, from the spark plugs to the air filter, plays a crucial role in the overall performance of the engine. When all pieces fit together perfectly, the engine runs smoothly and efficiently, delivering optimal power and fuel economy. However, if even one piece is missing, damaged, or misaligned, the entire puzzle is affected, leading to decreased performance. The ignition system, including spark plugs and coils, must deliver a strong, timed spark to ignite the air-fuel mixture precisely. The exhaust system removes spent gases and helps maintain engine efficiency. Getting the mix just right is like trying to find a balance between speed and eco-efficiency. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you can unleash the engine's potential without making the environment cringe. The relationship between cultural cringe and social degeneration is complex and multifaceted. Cultural cringe, a term coined in Australia, refers to the tendency to dismiss one's own culture as inferior to others, often stemming from a colonial past. Social degeneration, a more subjective term, generally implies a decline in societal values, norms, and cohesion. While there may be a correlation between cultural cringe and certain social issues, it is important to avoid oversimplifying the relationship. Social problems are often the result of a complex interplay of various factors, and focusing solely on cultural cringe as a cause can be misleading. Addressing social issues requires a nuanced understanding of the specific context and a multifaceted approach that considers economic, political, and cultural factors. Earnest conformity is a phrase that suggests a genuine and enthusiastic adherence to established norms, rules, or expectations. It implies a strong desire to fit in and be accepted by a group or society, often prioritizing collective values over individual expression. Feasible solutions are practical, achievable, and realistic approaches to addressing a problem or challenge. They consider available resources, constraints, and potential outcomes. Earnest theory suggests a sincere and dedicated approach to developing solutions. It implies a strong commitment to finding effective and meaningful answers. Earnestness is a personality trait characterized by sincerity, seriousness, and a deep commitment to one's beliefs and values. It often implies a genuine enthusiasm and passion for something. While it can be seen as simple or naive, it can also be a powerful force when harnessed effectively. Earnest conviction is a phrase that describes a strong, sincere, and deeply held belief in something. It implies a passionate commitment to a particular idea, value, or cause. Harmonious passion refers to engaging in activities that you genuinely enjoy and find important. You willingly invest considerable time in these pursuits. You act out of your own free will. You can start or stop the activity as you choose. For example, if you love running, you maintain a regular schedule that doesn't interfere with other essential aspects of your life. Obsessive passion involves becoming fixated on a particular activity. It can overpower you, leading to negative consequences. The activity dominates your thoughts and actions. You may feel compelled to continue even when it's detrimental. For instance, an obsession with work might lead to burnout or neglect of other life areas. Remember, passion can be a powerful force, but maintaining a healthy balance is essential. Cultivating harmonious passion allows you to enjoy what you love without crossing into obsession territory. Self-deprecating humor has become my standard response to insults. When someone criticizes me, I reply that matters are even worse than he is suggesting. If, for example, someone suggests that I am lazy, I reply that it is a miracle that I get any work done at all. If someone accuses me of having a big ego, I reply that on most days it is noon before I become aware that anyone else inhabits the planet. William B. Irvine. Citation references. Rajai, N. A. Kuku, R. O. Openibo, A. O. and O. Wallaby, E. A. 2024. Influence of compression ratio on the performance characteristics of a spark ignition engine. Journal of Production Engineering, 5-12. TK, M. M. Rao, N. R. Shankar, N. R. and Srinath, R. 2021. Humour Space, a novel framework for quantification and characterization of humor. Kim, J. Gong, T. Kim, B. Park, J. Kim, W. Huang, E. and Lee, S. J. 2020. No More One-Liners, Bringing Context into Emoji Recommendations. ACM Transactions on Social Computing, 3-2, 1-25. Kienbach, S. 2020. Towards a Comprehensive Theory of Culturally Constructed Humor. The European Journal of Humor Research, A2, 1-24. Zhang, Zhang, D. and Chiu, R.C. 2019. Deep Reinforcement Learning for Power System Applications, an Overview. CSEE Journal of Power and Energy Systems, 6-1, 213-225. Holmes, B. 2019. Is Human Life Absurd? Philosophia, 47-42. Wiggins, B.E. 2019. The Discursive Power of Memes in Digital Culture, Ideology, Semiotics, and Intertextuality. Routledge. Kaisalo, M. 2018. Set Up and Punchline as Figure and Ground, The Craft and Creativity of Stand-Up Comedy. Open Anthropology Cooperative Press Working Papers. Sirigati, S. Penzo, I. Giannetti, E. Casale, S. N. Stefanili, c. 2016. Relationships between Humorism Profiles and Psychological Well-Being. Personality and Individual Differences, 90, 219-224. Duncan, A. and Carter, J. 2016. The Comedic Prince, The Organic Intellectualism of Bill Hicks. In Standing Up, Speaking Out, pages 167-183. Routledge. Thorogood, J. 2016. Satire and Geopolitics, Vulgarity, Ambiguity, and the Body Grotesque in South Park Geopolitics, 21-1, 215-235. Stewart, S. N. Thompson, Dr. 2015. Does Comedy Kill? A Retrospective, Longitudinal Cohort, Nested Case, Control Study of Humor and Longevity in 53 British Comedians. International Journal of Cardiology, 180, 258-261. Skeff, T. J. Ensky, S.C. 2014. Humor and Catharsis, The Effect of Comedy on Audiences. In the Entertainment Functions of Television, pages 165-182. Psychology Press. Fishman, J. A. 2012. The New Linguistic Order. In Language and Linguistics in Context, pages 175-181. Routledge. Suresh, K. P. and Chandrasekhara, S. 2012. Sample Size Estimation and Power Analysis for Clinical Research Studies. Journal of Human Reproductive Sciences, 5-1, 7-13. Frall, A. 2010. Identifying Comedy, The Linguistic Properties of Humor. Post, M.W. 2009. The Phonology and Grammar of Gallo Words, A Case Study in Benign Disunity. Studies in Language. International Journal sponsored by the Foundation Foundations of Language, 33-4, 934-974. Reyes, A. Rosso, P. and Buscaldi, D. 2009. Evaluating Humorous Features, Towards a Humor Taxonomy. In IK, pages 1373-1390. Larson, H. 2005. Spontaneity and Power, Theater Improvisation as Processes of Change in Organizations. Bullhoff, J. and Jimble, S. 2004. A tautology is a tautology, or is it? Journal of Pragmatics, 36-5, 1003-1005. Vandale, J. 2002. Introduction, Reconstructing Humor, Meanings and Means. The Translator, 82, 149-172. Viley, L. 1989. Recursive Query Processing, The Power of Logic. Theoretical Computer Science, 69 1-53.
I'm a punching bag, bone dry, but I don't mind swinging on the hook where the sun don't shine, laughing at the cracks in the walls of time. Life's a joke and I'm the punchline. Levity's a dance in the back of my mind, an embodied harmless joke. It's one of a kind. Benign, deep humor keeps me aligned. I'm weightless, fearless, and undefined. They throw their fists, but I just sway, dodging all the drama like a game I play. Tattered and torn, but I'm okay. I'm the canvas for their shadow ballet. Levity's a dance in the back of my mind, an embodied harmless joke. It's one of a kind. Benign, deep humor keeps me aligned. I'm weightless, fearless, and undefined. They throw their fists, but I just sway, dodging all the drama like a game I play. Tattered and torn, but I'm okay. I'm the canvas for their shadow ballet. Levity's a dance in the back of my mind, an embodied harmless joke. It's one of a kind. Benign, deep humor keeps me aligned. I'm weightless, fearless, and undefined. Every swing is a story they'll forget, but I keep the scars like a secret kept. I'm not broken, just well adapted to the rhythm of the blows that I've unwrapped. I'm a punching bag, bone dry, but still I grin. Each bruise a badge for the life I'm in. Levity's my armor, my next of kin. A harmless in joke carved in my skin.